Thursday it is, right? Thursday mock draft. We got Ned Lennon and we got Clayton Hofer. I'm pretty sure everybody knows Clayton. Clayton comes out on the coach's cone. He was on the draft. I'm not draft the fantasy fantasy team, and he's done
Yes,
several.
sir.
Yeah, he's done several Sunday kickoff shows. So we're back at it with another 2021 NFL mock draft. We're in the second round. So these players that we're hearing, we're going a little bit deeper, right? It's picks 49 through 64. So there's going to be some names that you haven't heard us mention in the past, but for the ones that we have, we'll try to move along because we've already explained these picks. So, Clayton, if you have anything, I mean, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm pretty sure some people already know you very well here.
Yeah. If you haven't seen anything I've done yet, the guys on the East West like to throw me in there. I think they just like to hear me make them laugh or something. But I just enjoy talking football, man. My favorite thing is quarterbacks. Quarterbacks just get me fired up. There's just so much to dissect, and you guys kind of limited me to only one quarterback in my little section, but I'm gonna go all in and give you guys everything I got on him. So I'm pumped up.
and and you are the probably the biggest Denver Broncos fan there is, right? I think John Elway blocked you from his Twitter account, right?
Well, I did. I don't want to take credit for anything, but I did get hashtag Fire Elway trending like 8 years ago. So that's he does. Yeah, I'm not allowed to see John Elway's tweets. I got it on my burner.
The Iron Sheik does follow you. I seen that on Twitter. You guys have fun. That's kind of cool. But let's not beat
Maybe
around
I
the
should like this.
let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's get right into it. Picking 49th, we had the Arizona Cardinals. Man, they had a great season this year. Real quick before we get into it, just to kind of top some things. We got the Jags, right? They made it official. They signed Urban Meyer. We have a couple of
Mhm.
GMs positions that got filled in, right? The Detroit Lions. I think they did a great hire with I believe Farmer, right? Or did I say his name right? Well, anyways, and let me see. Was there? I think there was one more GM position. Filled up today also. So I mean, watch the NFL. It never, like we said in the last show, it never stops. There's always news in the NFL. That's the great thing about the sport that we love so much, right? Football. It's better than any soap opera, I think. But let's jump right into it. Arizona Cardinals. We had, I mean, they had a great start. They looked like a strong team. They just weren't able to fix it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. They're picking 49. Who do you have them selecting?
Yeah, so I had a Pagan Brevin Jordan, the athletic tight end out of Miami. I think that what he's going to do in that aerial attack that Cliff Kingsbury has brought to the NFL, we all were kind of like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? We're seeing it work pretty well, but what we're seeing is maybe lack of trusted pass catchers outside of DeAndre Hopkins. I
Yeah.
think what Brevin Jordan's going to be able to do is really attack the middle of the field and really give Kyler Murray a reliable target over the middle to open up Christian Kirk and Hopkins and, really expand on the things Cliff Kingsbury wants to do.
Yeah, Ned. I mean, just get. I mean, that Miami Hurricanes team was stacked this year. It was surprising that they weren't able to put it together, unfortunately. But if you can, just kind of bring it to light. I mean, we've mentioned Brevin Jordan. I think he was on some he was right behind Kyle Pitts and Firemouth. Where do you have him along the top tight ends?
Yeah, Brevin Jordan's actually a guy that I was very high on coming into the season. For me, I think his production and his ability as a pass catcher was a little bit more developed than some of the other prospects coming in as tight end. I think Kyle Pitts has really, obviously separated him to pretty much everyone else in the tight end field. Frymuth has kind of been that consistent at number two. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Brevin Jordan jump him. This year he put up over 500 yards despite, the shortened season. Miami, having De'Aaron King was obviously a big boost to that. But I like him, man. He reminds me a bit of Evan Ingram when Evan Ingram was coming out. Not so much the Ingram of late, but that potential from that athletic tight end position. He's not a terrible blocker by any means, not as developed as a guy like George Kittle, But I think with a little bit more polishing, he can really become a number one option.
Yeah, man. I mean, if anything, it's always good to have somebody that can chip, right? Chip that defensive end and catch you, get you some yak after that catch, right? And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the good qualities that he has is as a good pass. He's a really dynamic pass catcher. So let's go ahead and move along. We have picking 50th, the Miami Dolphins. Man, what a season they had too, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Dolphins, in my mock draft, I had them addressing a laundry list of needs. And if you're a Dolphins fan going into this draft and off season, you're like a kid on Christmas. You've got your little wish list. You ask for Santa, and you're looking at all the presents you get to open because they've got so many draft picks from stockpiling that they're just going to be rewarded for it from this stacked draft. I actually Is it a need? Not necessarily. I just thought it was really fun to put him here, admittedly. But Travis Etienne, man, a guy that's just explosive with the ball in his hands. I've talked about it, on the fantasy show before. But there's certain players when they touch the football, you hold your breath for a second because you're like, this could be big. This could be it. And that's what Travis Etienne brought at Clemson. He's improved his pass catching ability. Anytime he takes it up the middle or outside zone, he's a threat to break a big one every play he gets. Every touch that the ball enters his hands. So I think that this is a big need for this Dolphins team, who's looking to be, should I say, Patriots-esque in how they want to establish the run and dominate the game with good defense, good special teams, and good play action passing. I think Travis Etienne is a true 3-down back, something that they don't have right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's actually a good pick too. I mean, some people want to select a running back in the first round. So when you can get you know somebody that a superstar like ETN in the late second round, that's a steal right there. But let's move along. We had the Washington football team, right? They had a late resurgence. How can they improve? What's next for the Washington football team?
So in the first round, I know we're talking about that, but just to say what my thought process was here. The first round, I had them taking a wide receiver, just to improve the pass catching ability for the quarterbacks. Improve the wide receiver room. So here, good things come to those who wait, and here you're going to get Kyle Trask. Is Kyle Trask the sexiest quarterback in this class? Not by any means. But that doesn't mean he can't play good football, okay? I've seen him knocked for just about everything there is. But I tell you, whenever I watch Kyle Trask and I'm really evaluating this guy, I've looked at every possible angle here. And the things I've really taken away from Kyle Trask is this is a kid that loves football. He didn't have to play that last game. He had nothing to prove. He went out there without his top 4 offensive weapons, and he played. And he didn't ask to come out of the game. He didn't say, I've got an NFL future to think of. He said, I'm going to go back out there because I just love football. This is a kid that didn't play from his freshman year until his junior year of college. That's a massive gap. And he came out and was competing with national champions LSU up until the middle of the fourth quarter, right? That's whenever they kind of pulled away. That was his first start. And you do the math, 4 years, 5 years plus? So what this tells me is this is a guy that's going to study hard. He loves and he's committed to his team. He knows how to locate a football, how to throw the back shoulder, something that's crucial in today's passing attack of the NFL. And I think that for all the things that people love to hate Kyle Trask for, you can turn around and make it a positive. Oh, he doesn't have a strong arm. That's okay because he knows how to make touch passes over linebackers. Oh, well, he's not the most athletic guy. Well, that's fine because he's going to be cerebral enough to analyze the defense and get the ball where it needs to go and get everybody set where they need to be. So I love Kyle Trask here. He's going to get the chance to learn behind Alex Smith. His footwork has been much improved, and I think he's just going to continue to hone his craft and prove a lot of people wrong. Am I a Gators fan? Yes, but I don't see how that's relevant to this pick right here.
Well, I mean, I think that's a name that we have yet to announce or go into. So Ned, real quick, I mean, if you could give us a little brief on what you've seen on Kyle Trask. Is it true what Clayton tells us? His footwork and throwing mechanics are looking pretty sharp this year.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because Clayton and I were kind of breaking him down in his first couple of games this season. I got to see a bit of him last year. A good friend of mine is a Gators fan as well, so I had to get around a few of those games. And yeah, man, Trask is a very interesting guy because over his time he's shown development, and that's probably one of the biggest attributes for him going, particularly in the second round. Is this is a guy who can take on game experience and adapt and change how he plays to make better plays. And the way he develops velocity off of his front foot when he's throwing, it's insane. It's one of those things that you see and you're like, that's special. Is it right? No, but it's special and it looks damn good when it happens. He's a guy that, watching that Bama game, it just reiterated the fact that this is a guy who can go in and show up to big games if he has the talent around him. Is he going to elevate a team that doesn't have any talent? Probably not. But when you guys got Terry McLaurin in there, he's going to end up having some improved defense, getting some of those guys healthy back as well. I think that he could sit for a year behind an Alex Smith or even a Taylor Heineke and get that pro development in there. And I think that he could be a starter in the future.
Yeah, I had to look up his stats real quick. So 2020, he actually finished with 4,283 yards passing. Had 43 TDs and 8 interceptions. He finished with a 68.9% completion percentage. So definitely,
in the final game too.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, like you said, I mean, one game could really mess that up. But definitely, I mean, you always want to see the upper class. I think Mac Jones. I mean, he just fell into a great system. I think he finished with a 77. But as close to that 70% and above you can get, right? It makes you at definitely NFL caliber quarterback. So definitely you get him into the right system, right protection, and you got yourself a NFL quarterback for the future. And got a bunch of Washington football team fans out of nowhere, right? Why? Because they just started in 2020. So let's move along. Sorry, I had to throw punches at the divisionals. We got picking 52nd, right? Of course, this draft order can change, but this is the current Tankathon draft order that we're using. We got the Chicago Bears. I know a ton of Chicago Bear fans out there. What's next for Chicago, Clayton?
Well, you can really what was happening is in Chicago this season was everybody was going, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. It's fingers going everywhere. And ultimately Pagano fell on the sword and retired, which is bought Nagy and Ryan Pace another year somehow magically for them. Merry Christmas, guys. So what they've got to do is they've got to find who they want to be under center. They have to get in sync with that. And it doesn't matter if it's Nick Foles. It doesn't matter if it's Mitch Trubisky. I've seen rumors of Cam Newton. You go get Andy Dalton, whoever, if you grab a veteran, if you draft a rookie, whoever it may be, you have to have better protection and better line play. And I don't think you have to look far for that from Dylan Reduns from North Dakota State University. This is a guy that protected Trey Lance the last 2 years. Obviously, the FCS was robbed of their season, and they're planning to do a spring season. Some of these guys opted out for that. He is one of them. So you've only got a little bit of film on him, but whenever you look at that, you see a big guy just absolutely mauling people in the trenches, right? And the biggest concern when you see North Dakota State is, well, that's a small school guy. Okay, tell that to Carson Wentz. Tell that to Jimmy Garoppolo, my Eastern Illinois guy, right? Tell that to some of these guys that have already found success. I think we're starting to break down this barrier of small school versus Power 5 school, and it's now turned into you're either a football player or you're not a football player. And that's all that really matters. And Dylan Reduns is a hog molly, baby. He's going to get in there and he's going to throw people around.
Yeah, to say the least on him. I mean, he plays in a pro style offense, so I think that he has all the intangibles. Did you have anything to say on that? Because this is a name we haven't mentioned.
Yeah, Redunce's guy who was, first round talent coming into the season. It was him and Lance that were like the two guys out of North Dakota State. And I agree with Clayton, we've had these small school guys, but you've got to be that stellar athlete, that guy that shows out true, time and time again in each game. And guys like Carson Wentz were able to do that, selected second overall. Trey Lance is probably going to be a first round, if not early second round pick this year. And Redun's justifiably should be in that same category as well. He is a big dude and a phenomenal run blocker, very steady in the passing game. And I think that Chicago, who really needs to jumpstart that running offense like they kind of started to do at the end of this season, could really use a guy like him.
Well, I mean, I think that like Ned said it. I think when Ned speaks, I think it should become a law or something like that. I think that's a joke right amongst us. So
I
when
say that all
let's
the
move.
time.
Yeah, that's you that says it all the time. Hey, Ned speaks. We gotta listen. Gotta make it a law. But let's move along. We got a little shout outs here. Justin, coach himself, calling you the QB whisperer himself. Sania Blue, Washington looks like they could have a great future. They do. I mean, when you look at that defense, I mean, I think I was seeing. I think it was the two for one draft show with the was it the PFF crew, right? Mike Renner and I forget the other guy's name, but they made a really good point. They said, "Hey, look at this Washington football team." And I'm sorry if I'm backtracking, but I'm commenting on Sania here. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I think that in the situation they're in, why not go all in on a quarterback, right? In the first round, like say like somebody like a Zach Wilson or Justin Fields is within your grasp. Why not go all in and take that quarterback? I mean, if you make that mistake, hey, it's cool. You still have your quarterback to lean back on, right? Or you still have your quarterback that he can learn behind with Alex Smith. And if he goes down, you can learn. I mean, right now you have a young defensive team that you don't have to pay anybody right now at that premium, but most certainly, I mean, that Washington football team, it looks like a really enticing job. I know that they're trying to wrap up their GM. I mean, with Ron Rivera, I think he did a heck of a job this year. So what are we picking? 53 Tennessee Titans. They've. I mean, what can we say about the Tennessee Titans? Also, good season, right?
Yeah, they kind of did what we expected them to do, and that was just return to the playoffs and win the division, right? But you look at where they lacked. I don't think it's fair to question their secondary because they were dealing with some injuries. I mean, first round pick of Dory Jackson was dealing with a foot injury for I think like 14, 15 weeks out of the year. This is a thing about a Dory Jackson not a lot of people know. Okay, this is a kid that wanted to run track early on, and whenever he went to USC, one of the reasons he picked USC is because they had it in verbal that he would be allowed to run track as well because that's his first love. This is a kid that learned. He transitioned from Illinois, moved to California, and learned how to play corner because he was a running back here in Illinois. So he's just kind of playing football for fun and then made a career out of it. Kind of similar to Bo Jackson. So Dory Jackson is truly learning how to play football, and I don't think they should give up on him yet. So that being said, I looked where a big problem I saw was losing Jarrell Casey. I wasn't crying, I promise, whenever the Broncos traded for him, but the Titans probably were a little bit to themselves. So I've got them taking Tommy Tagai. He is the interior defensive lineman from Ohio State, the Ohio State. Sounds like high quality football this season. Really helped shut down Travis Etienne, a guy I'm already high on. Shut him down in the playoff game, and I think he's just going to be able to step in and really get in there and you just want. I hate to use this term, but you just want big in there and get, like that's the simpleness. And at times it looked like the Tennessee Titans were like not interested in doing that on the front lines.
Well, I mean, this is another prospect that we really haven't heard much of, right, Ned?
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that I don't think a lot of people know about, but he has definitely been rising up the boards, particularly since the CFP finished. And he's a guy who he grades out well. He's got a lot of raw power, a lot of initial bursts, like really good lower body strength, surprising flexibility. The only thing I think that is a bit of a knock on his game is his size and length. He's at what I think 6'2", 300 pounds for an interior guy. His arm length isn't probably as long as you really want, but he definitely makes up for it with that burst, gets his hands on the guys, and really disrupts that offensive line, as Clayton said. So I like the pick. I definitely think Tennessee needs to really bolster down that defensive line. I think we've spoken about it before, but Jadeveon Clowney was not the kind of guy that they expected to get at that position. Out on the outside as well, generating pressure on the quarterback. Tommy to me is more of that run stuffer. I definitely think that they need to stack up somebody to really get after the quarterback, but anywhere along the defensive line is going to be a good pick for them.
Trey saying his name fast 3 times also.
Not even bother.
Well, picking 54, we got the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, what do they do? I love their general manager, Chris Ballard. Man, he has a pair on him. I'm gonna say that much right now. I love his little press conference today. I think that he manned up and said, "Well, heck, I use some nice what's the term? Some nice choice of words during his little press conference, right? Where they're putting pressure on him to give out if he was going to draft a quarterback, right?
Yep.
But who are they picking, Clayton?
Well, where they're at right now, they're going to have to trade up either in the first round or in the second round to get to the early second to find a quarterback worth drafting. They drafted Jacob Eason last year to be kind of a developmental guy too, and maybe learn. I wasn't too high on him, but whoever you bring in, it could be a veteran signing as well, just like Phillip Rivers was. But whoever you bring in, I don't think it's a secret that they need more offensive weapons. Okay, and look no further than Chris Olave, who I had fallen to him. Once upon a time, T.Y. Hilton came in, a little speedster who was electric with the ball in his hands and could make big things happen down the field. Well, funny how history repeats itself, because in walks Chris Olave into the Colts locker room, and he's a speedster who can make big plays happen when you put the ball in his hands, whether it be a screen play, it's a little smoke screen off to the side, or taking deep shots, creating separation and high pointing the football down the field. I think Chris Olave is a good fit, and I think he's going to complement Michael Pittman Jr. very well, who we've seen play good football for the Colts.
Most definitely. This is a name that's been very interesting. We were expecting big numbers, but due to the Big Ten taking forever to get the games going, I think they only got to play 5 games, and we're expecting that Justin Fields and Chris Olave connection to be something magnificent. But I mean, Ned, we haven't mentioned his name at all. I believe in any of our episodes here doing the mocks.
He's come up kind of fringe here and there, but yeah, he's definitely a guy that fit into that second tier, I think, of wide receivers when you kind of get through those initial hype trains like Waddle and Smith and Bateman, and then you kind of left with Chris Olave. Great size. Quite honestly, a guy that we did expect to see a lot of production from this year. And I think that despite what happened, even with Fields' struggles in a couple of those games, he was definitely Fields' favorite target. And he showed why in that national championship game and the semifinal as well. So I know the kind of main points here is that he is an electric guy, got a lot of bursts off the line. He's got some moves that he can really use to shake corners. He's got a great high point and a good ability to come and bring that ball in as well, especially in contested catches. Thing that I think we've mentioned with him time and time again is, does he have that dynamic post reception ability to make things happen? I think it's there. I just don't think that we've necessarily seen a lot of it. And I think that that's probably going to cause him to slip with guys like Smith and Waddle who can create after play. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Indianapolis going for these guys here. I will say with Clayton's first round, which I believe is going to have posted on the website as well, definitely addressing quarterback is going to be a big thing. I've even heard some rumors that they may even go after Deshaun Watson, which could you imagine Deshaun Watson in that offense, especially the offensive line and the defense they have? The likelihood of that happening, of course, with the division rival is very minimal, but the idea of being able to pair Olave with someone like Watson would make that offense just absolutely incredible.
I think it all just comes down to the quarterback sometimes with these wide receivers.
Absolutely.
But I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna have to object on this one. I'm pretty sure the Colts are kind of weary now of any Ohio State wide receivers, right? I think they got burned by Paris Campbell a couple years back in the second round. But I mean, you can't hold that against him, man. Especially Chris Olave, like you said, he catches the ball. I mean, does he run? Does he get you a lot of yak, right? Yards after the catch? Not this year. But let's go ahead and pick 55th, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, so the Steelers, I had when evaluating the Steelers, it was kind of odd because you just couldn't figure out why this historically pound the rock franchise couldn't do it this year, and a lot of it has to be due to just the overall veterans they have on the line. So I had them taking Jackson Carman, out of Clemson. Carman is just a guy coming from high pedigree school, going to a high pedigree franchise, who has gone up against some of the top pass rushers, has played in some big games already, and I think he's not going to back down. Ultimately, that was my deciding factor when placing him here. Is I think he would just nail the interview and separate himself in terms of because in this COVID season we have to take into factors maybe we normally wouldn't when we trust the tape. But now we've got to look historically, and now we're looking. Okay, Jackson Carman's been on this team, and now he's going to translate this experience over and be a contributor immediately for a team that the window seems to be closing for Big Ben. We saw it slam shut in the middle of the playoffs, right? They're just right there at the end. Boom, window shut. Looked like Ben was done. Well, we've got to get him some help. We've got to help the offensive line. We've got to be able to run the football. Jackson Carman comes in and provides relief on that line and does just that.
Well, what do you think, Ned? I mean, this guy's protected the blind side for Trevor Lawrence for the last 2 years. I mean,
Yeah, Jackson Carman for me was a guy that I was very excited about coming into the season. I'd seen a bit of his tape from last year, mostly in the playoff games, but hadn't had a chance to study a lot of it. He's actually not a guy I'm very high on at tackle. I know a few people have suggested him moving inside and more of that kind of power running scheme, being able to utilize his size and kind of hide some of his flaws. I think left out, particularly at a left tackle position, he just doesn't quite have the ability to deal with initial bursts off the speed rushes and recover. I've seen him get bullied sometimes with some of the bigger outside linebackers as well. His momentum and his mobility is a little bit of a concern for me as well with his footwork. So I'm not too high on him. I think that the Steelers, as far as what Clayton said around how they need to rebuild that, absolutely, that offensive line, their running game particularly struggled at times this year. So I think being able to rejuvenate and revitalize that, whether that's with Ben or Mason, or if they bring another quarterback in, having a strong, running game as a base we've seen in the NFL is really important outside of being Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, which they're unlikely to have. So being able to set that, that tone with the trenches is going to be very important. But I like Carmen probably moving inside to get the most value out of him.
well said. Picking 56, the Seattle Seahawks.
Uh, First, let me just say this, Jerry. I'm just proud of myself that we've gone this far into the mock draft and talking about players before me and Ned kind of disagreed on a player. Like that's a compliment to me on how high I think of Ned. So for us to get this far into it, I'm happy. I'm happy. But for the Seahawks, I had Patrick Jones the second.
Ooh.
I had
You get,
Patrick Jones
you
the
get,
second from the Seahawks. Um,
we, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry.
No, no, go ahead. I can wait.
Okay. Yeah, Patrick Jones the second coming out of Pitt. When I'm watching this guy, I kind of just saw a high motor, high energy guy. And that's kind of something the Seahawks needed. You had Jamal Adams back there smoking cigars in the locker room talking about how they're the best, but he wasn't really doing anything to make them the best. Well, I think Patrick Jones comes in, brings some energy, brings some juice, and brings an attitude that we're used to seeing in Seattle Seahawks football, at least on the defensive side. Um, Offensively, they just fired their offensive coordinator. We don't know what that's going to look like, but there's no question at all that the defense is not up to the Seattle standard that has been set for the past, decade of us watching them. So Patrick Jones, I think, comes up as an impact player right out of the gate for him.
Yeah, I was just gonna. What I was gonna say was, we just talked about this Pitt's defensive line. Well, the actual defense. I mean, they should have been like winning almost every game. You got extremely high motor guys on the defensive line. You had a true playmaking safety in Paris Ford. But Patrick Jones, this is one of Walter's guys, right? I think that when you look at it, he's ascended in the right way. I think he's progressed as far as getting the right sacks and the right momentum. But when you hear the name Patrick Jones II, I mean, sounds like a true Seattle Seahawks pick, I think. But picking 57, we've got the L.A. Rams.
Oh
That's you.
man, it's still not right for me to hear LA Rams being so close to St. Louis where I'm at. But I had the Rams selecting Daniel Bilal. You know, maybe I'm just being boring overall, but Sean McVay just needs to take better care of Jared Goff. We saw what that offense did without him down the stretch with him, has done with him being injured with that thumb, right? Um, Anytime your quarterback's taking shots, it's not good. And we've seen the running game, which is the staple of the McVay offense, right? He's the descendant of kind of this hybrid old school Mike Shanahan that he's kind of developed into his own thing, right? He did learn from Kyle, who in turn got it from his dad, right? So he's developed the zone scheme and has got some brilliant play action passes and zone running stuff that he incorporates all the time that we're used to seeing. But it seems like this year we're just not seeing the full effect with the running game. We saw it last year with Todd Gurley as his body was failing him, wasn't as electric. And there wasn't just a lot of things open for him, making it easy on him. So going forward, this offensive line is an issue for the Rams, and I think this is a step in the right direction. At least a band-aid on the wound for now, at least.
Man, I mean, this is a huge man that we're talking about. I think what was he listed at? Ned 6'8", 400 pounds.
6'8", 400 pounds.
Insane, insane. Do you have anything to say more than that, or should we just move on to the Tampa Bay? But
No, man, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Falele here. Minnesota, the Gophers had a disappointing season coming off of that incredible season last year, inspiring season that they had. And I think that Falele kind of fell a little bit in that regard because the overall team was, disappointed in their performance. But the thing for Daniel for me is that he reminds me a lot of Trent Brown, that big, tall, massive guy who moves with feet like a ballerina. He's got great mobility, great setup. The only thing I will say is he is more likely going to be a right tackle, much like Trent Brown came in. That size, that power, you're going to stick him on the right-hand side and really generate that run game. I don't know that he's going to offer a lot of flexibility to move out left. Andrew Whitworth is getting old. Rob Havenstein, which quick shout out to Lindenau High School. It's my wife's alma mater where Rob Havenstein went. And I think that he's proven that he has kind of hit his peak in terms of where he could be. And, they may end up looking to replace him with somebody like Falele.
sweet. I mean, you gotta show them big men some love too. You know what I mean? And this is one of the biggest men of the draft. So let's move along. Picking 58 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Formerly known as Tampa Bay, but right now we're calling them the Tampa Bay. So what do you think?
Oh man, I don't think this is a team that's got that many holes. The only one I would really point a finger at is say, hey, we need to get Shaq Barrett or running mate. At this point in the second round, I felt like let's address the interior offensive line. The one thing that Tom Brady, I'm assuming he's coming back next year. I think he signed that 2-year deal, right? So when looking at the one thing Tom Brady doesn't like is that interior pressure. You pressure him from the outside, that's fine. He wants to step up. Pressure from the inside, old man Brady can't get his walk moving fast enough to get to the edge and roll out. So we need to shore up that line. I got him taking Josh Myers, inside offensive lineman. He's gonna be a plug and play guy right away. Come from high pedigree school. He's not gonna be scared of Brady getting in his face and yelling at him and telling him what to do, what not to do. He's gonna come in. He's gonna work hard every day. High motor, high energy guy.
Well said. I think Ned, do we have to mention? I think Josh Myers, right? I mean,
He's an Ohio State interior offensive lineman. He's a road grader. He's a mauler. He's going to get out there and he's going to help develop a run game that is in, desperate need of some help.
I think it's a tie between. I mean, it could be a toss up between him and Creed Humphrey at the center. I mean, they could be centers in the NFL. So, I think, like you said, at most, I mean, he could definitely be a top end guard. Anytime you're talking about Ohio State players, we got to take them seriously.
Yeah.
So moving along, 59, picking 59, the Baltimore Ravens. They're playing this weekend too.
Okay, so I had this is they are. This was tough for me. This really was, because you're looking and you go, okay, they need a wide receiver for Lamar. There's not really one that kind of fits what they want to do, and there's not one big-bodied enough to do what they need, right? In terms of who are we going to on third down, third and long situation? Because we don't really think Hollywood is big enough to maybe – he's not the Anquan Bolden that used to reside in this Baltimore Ravens uniform, right? So when looking at that, I went elsewhere. I went to the other side of the ball on defense. I really like Hamza Nasruddin. He's a high upside safety. I saw him make a lot of plays out on the field this season. I think this is a low risk, high reward pick for them, just because they do have some talented secondary guys that he can kind of fit in with and catch his footing. And I think the athleticism there, if he does catch his footing and he does take off, great. You've got another piece to go with this great Baltimore defense that you've made and you keep adding additions to. And if he doesn't work out, well, your secondary is already talented enough. This is already a unit that's getting to the postseason consistently that, well, no harm done, right? And that's kind of where I was leaning with it.
Hey, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on what Clayton was saying, I mean, this is a huge safety. I forget his measurables sometimes, but I think they listed him at what, 6'4", 6'3"?
6'4", 215.
Yeah, I mean, versatility comes to mind when I've seen him. I mean, this is a new name that we haven't mentioned to our audience. I mean, if you could just drop some knowledge, Ned.
Yeah, so Hamza, he's awesome, man. Put simply, he is the mentality and the physical prospect of a Cam Chancellor. And he's exactly the kind of guy that a lot of teams are looking for to bring that energy, that high impact physicality. As you said, size is huge. Having a 6'4" guy who can sit back in the deep safety role is going to be great. A couple of things I will say about Hamza, though, and probably around where he is at this point in the draft in the second round, is durability is a big concern. He tore his ACL in 2019 in a non-contact injury. He has had issues with getting on the field consistently, which for a team in Baltimore, if you followed any of their secondary in the last 3 years, that is a big, big red flag for those guys. They've had ACLs, they've had Achilles, they've had concussions, you name it. So what I think they're really looking for in Baltimore are guys who can get out there, hit hard, but do it safely and be able to play 16-plus games in a season because, they want to be getting back to the playoffs. He is a little bit slow in his recognition of some plays, and his ability to get after the run game is a little bit below average, in all honesty, which for the Ravens secondary, that is honestly a big issue for them at the moment. They've been giving up big plays in the run game, struggling to bring guys down in that first point of contact, which, when they get two guys on the play, they generate turnovers. When they get one guy, they get stiff armed to the ground. And that's probably a concern for Nasruddin. For me, going into that defense, is they need guys who can actually go out and protect and cover a bit better and make better tackling than I think you'll get with Hamza. If they took him in the third, I love this pick. Again, a high-energy physical guy that Baltimore is looking for. But I think the second, they've still got other areas that they need to address a bit higher.
Oh man, we're getting back we're almost at the finish line here. So Clayton, save me here. We got the Cleveland Browns picking 60th. And they're playing this weekend too.
All right, so the Cleveland Browns really done a great. Kevin Stefanski has done a great job of not only getting a culture change there, and basically what, in my opinion, what Kevin Stefanski said is got the Browns to look themselves in the mirror and say, we're not the Browns anymore. We're the new Browns. And that's a big deal. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's all football for the last 40 years. So what they need is secondary help right now, okay? And they've masked the true need, but Baker Mayfield has put up 42 points 2 different times and lost this season.
True.
That's a big issue. Enter Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell is a guy that's getting overlooked right now because he's playing with some dude named Eric Stokes that everybody thinks is really good. Eric Stokes is good, but I think Tyson Campbell is more of a safer prospect. Tyson Campbell looks more sure of himself in coverage. He's not quite the playmaker, but he definitely looks like he knows what's going on. He just understands his role in the defense, and when you're playing back there in the secondary, that's what it's all about. It's about passing off the coverages. Where's your help coming from? Understanding and communicating on crossing routes and things like that. I think Tyson Campbell is a guy that's just going to come in, understand what he's being asked to do, and is he an immediate impact starter? I don't think so. I don't think he's athletic. Guy that if he has to play, he's giving you good quality minutes, and that's all you can ask for when you're drafting corners and letting them learn, because he just seems like he's a high IQ guy to me. Obviously, I haven't got to talk to him, but just seeing everybody go to Eric Stokes, and he's still doing his job well. That just tells me he's a highly focused kid that comes in there and he cares about winning. He doesn't care about Tyson Campbell. He cares about the team, and that's exactly what the Browns need.
Now, if the Browns can land a name like this in the second round, this is a big time win. I think that Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes, they're the 2 hot names right now. They're both lengthy. They both play the cornerback positions. They played opposite of each other. They helped each other out tons. But I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And this is a new name that we haven't really mentioned as a recent. We haven't mentioned Eric Stokes or Tyson Campbell, but I think when you look at the 2 pairing, I think Tyson Campbell is a little bit more fit for today's game. What can you say about that, Ned?
Yeah, Tyson Campbell's a guy that I like. My major concern with him is lack of turnovers. And I think you and I talked about this in the past, Jerry, is that entire secondary had a lot of talent, but not a lot of the production that you kind of want to see. And Tyson, as much as I like him, he actually reminds me a bit of Chris Cook, former first rounder. He was a guy who had a lot of athleticism, similar size, 6'2", around 190 to 200 pounds. Got to the NFL and just couldn't locate the ball often enough. I think he got his first interception with the 49ers in his 5th season. And that to me is kind of where Tyson Campbell reminds me of. I think he's probably got a little bit more upside. Does well to find the ball and find the player, and he shows good coverage in both man and zone. But that would be my only knock on him at this stage.
Yeah, I mean he was truly they were both unique in their own ways, but very lengthy and sticky corners. Let's move along. We got the playing this weekend also. The Who Dat Nation picking 61 is of course no other than New Orleans, right? NOLA, the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Clayton seems like a Saints.
Yeah, we don't know who's going to be under center for them. Well, to quote Kendall, second team, right?
Shots fired.
You don't really know where who's going to be under center for him. Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Taysom Hill? We don't know yet. But looking here, we definitely know one thing. There still isn't a true number 2 opposite Mike Thomas. They've got a lot of fun guys. They've got a lot of gadget guys. I think Emmanuel Sanders 3-4 years ago was that guy. Emmanuel Sanders is a guy that could give you some good minutes if you see him open. But I don't think he's a guy you could really lean on anymore. That's why I really like Highland Wallace, Oklahoma State wide receiver. Todd Wallace is the biggest guy, only standing 6 foot. And he doesn't attack you at every level consistently enough. But he's a guy that just when you get the ball in it doesn't seem like he wants to be tackled. And that's just something the Saints kind of need, because they're going to need somebody to take the load off of Michael Thomas, take the load off of Era in the post-Drew Brees era, because Drew Brees isn't going to be there to get them in the perfect play every time. So, whether Tyler Wallace is a true number 2 or not in the NFL remains to be seen. But I think it's another gadget that Sean Payton can play with and employ in the post Drew Brees era in New Orleans.
I mean, we've mentioned his name. I think we're all kind of we are all saying like he is on the higher end of that second tier of wide receivers. If they can find him at this number, that's great draft value. And like you said, I mean, if anything, the more weapons you can get, the better, especially for whoever's next in line. Picking 62, right? We got a bunch of Bills Mafia all of a sudden just coming out of the woodworks. I wonder
They're
why.
all in there, man. No one's giving them the attention they deserve.
Yeah. So Bills Mafia. Well, who they picking 62nd?
Well, Bills Mafia, I'm getting you a guy that you don't want to put you through a table in the parking lot. Standing at 6'4", 205 pounds, Israel Mukwamu from South Carolina. This is a guy that
Wow.
is just a playmaker, man. Every time you turn on the South Carolina game, and you're watching them play defense, you will see Israel Mukwamu around the football. It just seems that way. Ned, do you agree with me or what? I saw you do the little there.
I love Mukwamu, man. He has got awesome size, and you don't see enough of these 6'4" guys playing at the cornerback in the NFL level. And his one-handed interception of Trask, I think you and I were talking at that exact moment that happened. It blew us away. It was phenomenal.
I love the way if he can't intercept it, he's trying to punch that ball out too, man. I mean, you're talking like you said, like a 6'4" cornerback. It's insane, and he's looking to get that takeaway. So this guy's gonna be an interesting prospect, especially with J.C. Horn taking all the man. He took all the
Yeah.
shine. He took all the shine, and he even opted out. But Israel stuck in there. I think for the Buffalo Bills, they need somebody opposite of Tre'Davious White, and definitely that would definitely round this Bills and make them an even more dangerous team to say the least.
The only thing I will say, Jerry, on him is flipping his hips against a guy like Tyreek Hill is going to be a tough prospect. Even guys like Travis, Kelsey is going to get matched up on because of his size.
True.
And the reason why a lot of these 6'4" guys don't succeed is because it's harder for them with their frames to flip their hips. So if he can get in there and show that he has the ability to break at the right time and to be able to follow these guys with his change of direction improvement, I think his 3-cone is going to be a very important stat to prove that to people. He could be an absolute steal at this position.
Yeah, because I think he brings versatility there. I think someone said if anything, he could transition to safety also if it doesn't work
Free
out.
safety sitting over the top.
Yeah, so that's also another position for him. Picking 63rd, the Green Bay Packers, who Kendall has actually gone out on a limb and said that they are going to lose this week. Just putting it out there. And he said he's going to call everybody once the game's over.
Good.
Yes,
well, the big news here is
put him on blast.
I love it. Gotta bring the people something to watch. Got to give them something to entertain them.
That was laughing too because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
David Back is the big story, right? Green Bay having an ACL tear. Having the ACL tear to David Bakhtiari is going to give us a quick look at what life is going to be like, right? So when thinking about that, man, this is actually your guy, Jerry. I thought of you when I was making this pick. You're big on Walker Little, and not only are you big on Walker Little, Walker Little's big on you. Dude, 6'7", 320 pounds. That's a big man. I didn't even know they made men that big.
Well, the reason why I think I said it well on the last gig, right? I think Walker Little has been. It feels like he's been at Stanford for like years now, but what I liked about him was that very powerful mauler, old school style offensive tackle. I think that you get that for Green Bay. Wow, like I think Aaron Rodgers is going to appreciate, the support, right? The surrounding support especially if you get him a weapon in the first round and then protection in the second. Picking 64th. So obviously we're talking about back-to-back Super Bowl champs. We're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs Kingdom, right? The Chiefs Kingdom. Who they picking? Finishes off for a strong clay and give us a good name out there we haven't heard.
Well, okay, I got just the guy for you guys. So imagine you guys are millionaires and you're bored and you don't really know what to spend your money on, so you just buy lottery tickets to maybe make yourself richer.
Ah,
That's what the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do when they draft Nico Collins. Okay? Nico Collins is a guy that's got size and speed, and he's got good hands, doesn't body catch, goes and attacks the football. He's a very raw receiver who wasn't utilized properly at Michigan. Walt can back me up on that. In fact, Walt's probably at home just fist pumping as hard as he possibly can that I even name drop Nico. But Nico Collins is a guy that they can afford to roll out there and develop for this explosive offense just because they're the Chiefs and they can. That's all I really say.
No, yeah, I think this is a great name that you just mentioned. Nico Collins actually was actually a 5-star. I believe he was a 5-star recruit. And like you said, I think that he opted out, but then he wanted to opt back in and they didn't allow him, which is crazy considering what you just mentioned. I think that these are all great assets, especially for a wide receiver of his stature and the speed, right? Ned, you got to give us a little insight on this prospect here.
Yeah, man. Nico Collins is a guy that I know Walt and a few other people had going as high as the first round. The fact that he wasn't able to take the field this year has floated him anywhere. I've seen like 5th round up to the first round. You know, he is a guy that no one can pin down. But at 6'4", I mean, we talked about with Walt, we're expecting him to run something in like the 4.2s. And if he's putting out that kind of speed, an offense like the Kansas City Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill opposite him, he's going to be the great X receiver that I think that they really need to round out that offense to be completely unbeatable because why not? And that's the crazy thing is that Collins taking a second round dive to those guys is just unfair. Another team I'd love to see him on is Arizona. You know, that spread, that vertical stretch offense. This is a guy that you can just plug out on the outside, tell him to run a go route, and then just throw the ball in his direction. And he's going to find it, and he's going to burn you for trying. So big body receiver, big play threat at all times in the game. I think he's got a very bright future as developing into that, that typical big bodied X receiver that every team is really looking for.
Well, that wraps it up for today's show. This is the Thursday second part of the second round mock draft. Like I said, these are going to be a weekly thing, twice a week, right? Tuesdays and Thursdays. We might go to Mondays and Wednesdays, but we've got to check some schedules on that, right? But we'll see. We'll definitely keep you posted. We want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in. I know that sometimes these shows go a little bit longer than usual, but hey, man, we're bringing you the names. We're bringing you that knowledge. It's for you, the audience. So when your team picks a player, you're gonna be like, "Who's this guy?" Well, if you would have tuned in and watched it through, well, I mean, you could always go back and watch it. We're always on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and turn on all the notifications. Follow us at Twitter. Facebook Live. We just want to say thank you and till next Tuesday. Y'all have a good weekend.